Hello and welcome to Three Books with Dui. I am your host, Dui Lemi Awolalu, and my guest this week is a friend who is a physicist and also a philosopher. He is popularly known on Twitter as a Christian apologist and author of several articles on Theo-philosophy, including his most notable work, The Infinity of Infinities. Ladies and gentlemen, Timi. So what's up, Timi? How are you doing?
I'm okay. How you doing?
I'm very well, man. How has your week been?
Very stressful, but we'll survive somehow.
Congratulations on our win. It was it was a very hard win, struggle win, but at least we won eventually.
Yes, but we can't keep playing like that because that is too close. Too close.
Yeah, that was really close. That was really close. But anyways, we had a conversation yesterday, and till now, like I'm still having a headache from that conversation. I'm not even going to lie. I listened to it over and over again. I'm trying to put one or two things together, even if I don't agree with some of the things you said. But yeah, I've been following you for about almost a year now on Twitter, and you, alongside the Booker, the person I interviewed the last time, have really, like, let me say, bust my head, because there are so many ideas that I've never really. There are some that I've thought of, and I didn't like know how to articulate. Like ideas on theology and philosophy, some things that just come to my head vaguely, and I just shunned because there isn't much. My language, I'm not like that sophisticated enough to like articulate those thoughts. And the things you and Ebuka have been doing, trying to defend the Christian faith in very articulate ways, very commendable, to be honest. And you in particular,
Thank you.
like, how long have you been in this journey of apologetics?
Actually, apologetics. My foray to apologetics started last year, but my reading of apologetics and theology has been for quite a while longer. Theology about 5 years, apologetics since
Bruh,
secondary
5
school.
years.
Thereabout.
Now you 5 years, bro. No wonder.
Small compared to some of those people I follow. Some of them,
Yeah. I see the conversations you have with those people. I'm like, what the heck? Like, if Kainena be Eva Kaniva, that girl, that
yes,
philosopher, yeah, like it's mind blowing. But for the people listening, apologetics is like a way to explain or to defend Christian faith through rational means,
oh,
maybe through
and yeah,
philosophy or physics or
through
science.
anyone.
Yeah, yeah. So let's start. So what are your three books?
My three books are The Experience of God by David Bentley Hart,
Okay.
Modern Physics and Ancient Faith by Stephen Barr, and The Language of Creation by Matthieu Pageau.
Okay. For everyone, let me warn you. This is not like, let me be honest, this will be like the regular conversation you have with people. This is might be very technical in terms of philosophy, and I would suggest that you drop whatever you know already somewhere, because these things are going to be very thought provoking, and you have to like think from first principles. So just be calm, little by little. I trust Tim is going to put us through this journey of philosophy, this technical philosophy. So, which one are you starting with?
Let's start with The Experience of God. I think that's okay.
Okay, the one by Bentley Hart.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
can you give us a like his short exposition of the book?
Okay. Um, David Bentley Hart is a the philosopher of mind. He's a theologian, but a philosopher of mind. The book is about God. Actually, it is not normal apologetics, as you would put it. It's not a normal defense. What David Bentley Hart tries to do in the book is give a easy a relatively overview of what it means to say the word God.
Did
Whether
you
you are
say
a
easier view?
Christian, yes, you honestly, if you read some other papers, or if you try and read Thomas Aquinas, you will have to
Yeah.
like slow down and rethink your life. It's- it gives it really, because I have tried to read some other books on it, and it's very, very dry, honestly. But David
Mm,
Bentley has this way of carrying you along, even if you may not understand half of what he's saying. You
yeah.
want to understand,
Yeah.
and you have to explain that part about God, because many people have different ideas and concepts, and even in apologetics, I've always noticed this confusion as to people's explanation of God. But David
Mm,
Bentley sort of brings it together and shows you what it means to say the word, and how it is often different from mainstream views, but it was actually popular in the past.
mm. All right. So, what do you think? Like, how do you describe the word God? I know most people feel, even Christians, I think they make that mistake of seeing God as just that being up there in the sky with gray hair. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but just a being in the universe that they call and they pray to, and he answers their prayers. And do you understand? Like something
Yeah, yeah.
relatable as like a finite being. Do you understand?
Yes.
So we fall prey to like trying to use our rationality to try to put God in a box. So, like, can you really explain to us what your idea of God is?
Okay. Following from the book is one of the best ways to know about God. Practic, uh, it in
Okay.
all religious traditions is by saying what God is not.
Okay.
One of the important things to note about this word is that it changes, it moves around, it is not perfect, but there is something perfect that makes the imperfect possible.
Hmm.
Now, this this requires that first of all we negate everything imperfect. That's what apophatic means. If the world is changeable, God is not changeable. If the world is finite, God is not finite. That's what infinite means, not
Yeah.
finite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, if the world has extension, that is, it exists in space, God does not exist in space. The When you do all of that with a sort of void, there's a saying in the East that uh, there's a sort of description of God in the East. They call him the void, and it's for this reason, because after you negate everything, all that is left is something. How do you put it? Or should I say nothing?
Mm.
And this nothing has is actually the most real thing possible, because this nothing is first present, omniscient, it is all knowing. Because when you negate everything, like uh when you realize that everything passes away, what is left?
Everything's ephemeral.
Yes, once you negate everything, whatever is left is the most powerful thing possible, because that thing cannot live, it cannot be constrained by any space about it. Nothing is everywhere, and it is nowhere at the same time.
Yeah.
Concept of nothing. That concept of void. That is the definition of God from the apophatic perspective.
Mm.
But when you now come to the cataphatic, what you can see about God, that's where all these qualities come in, of omniscient, omnipresent, all of these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you look at it uh, from the perspective not of negation, but from addition. For example, uh, the fact that there is knowledge means that there is something that has all knowledge, or something like that. The fact that there is, what do you put it? There is existence means that there is something that is a source of all existence. Difficulties in explaining this is that most people think of this in terms of the Big Bang. The Big Bang is the source of the universe, right?
Yeah.
Now, apart from that, there's also one important question that most people get mixed up. The question is that why existence at all?
Why is there
Why
something rather than nothing?
and nothing? Exactly. Why is there a table? Why is it other than a chair? Why is it a chair other than a bed? Why are they birds the air other than clouds? Why are they different? Why do they this is the subject of not even science, because science cannot answer this. Science can just tell you where clouds came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you cannot answer what are clouds? What is the nature of clouds? These are nature as in rational understanding. Where does our understanding of clouds come from? It is not just there is something called meaning, something important. That meaning is very important to how what clouds, where does it
Uh,
come from?
is this one like ontological description of things?
Yes, they are nature, ontological
Okay.
description of things. This
Okay.
I'm trying to explain it before, but this, if you read the book well, it shows how this connects to God as what they call being, to
Yeah.
be. God is the best
Uh,
description of God is to be, being itself, the source of all existence. Plotinus will call him the one, the what do you call it? Efficient cause of the world, that which
uh,
causes something to exist. Now, most people get confused that if this is God, how is this related to Christianity, to Islam, to all this? Because it's kind of impersonal force in the world, right?
yes.
Now, if we want to get to that level, we have to first look at how can a human being know all of these things. That is the one of the central questions of philosophy, epistemology. How do you know God?
Epistemology. Yeah.
Yes. How do you know God is this and not that? How do you know God is all and not all? That that knowledge, that ability to know is the personal nature of God. That is where you find the personal nature of God, the human ability to get knowledge.
Mm, mm, mm.
The
Yeah,
fact,
I saw a concept in the book was as you talked about, like just a little segue.
yeah,
When I talking about knowledge, I saw something about um God being infinitely conscious. He has infinite knowledge, right?
yes, yes,
Of himself that is
yes,
infinitely beautiful and
yes,
infinitely perfect. And
yes,
because he has infinite knowledge of himself that is infinitely beautiful, he has infinite love for himself or of himself.
exactly.
So, like,
And
there is this eternal act of knowledge and love. They go hand in
yes,
hand. To
yes,
know is to love.
that is the Platonic stance. They would
Yeah,
say there's a way they put it. Today we think of knowledge as just simply
yeah,
most people will just say, I know about this because I solved it in one mathematical something in the classroom. I read it somewhere. A,
yeah.
a Platonist like David Bentley had to call that true opinion, not true knowledge.
Mm,
Not real opinion is of things that can change. The fact that the sun is risen now doesn't mean the sun will be out 3 hours from now, right?
yes,
True opinion, it changes. But knowledge itself, knowledge is to conform yourself to something, to be united with that thing. Like you said, to know something is to love it, and to love something is to be united to it.
yes.
That's exactly what it means by
that
know.
that thing was mind blowing to me. It was really mind blowing, and he also went on to say that Jesus is the image, the perfect image and representation of God.
Yes,
Right? God being all knowing, as per infinitely conscious, sees himself, sees his image, and immediately falls in love with it. That act of falling in love, that act of love itself is the Holy Spirit. The back and forth
Yes.
loving of the Son and the Father is
Yes.
the Holy
That's,
Spirit in itself, the divine act of knowing and loving. Like it was mind blowing to me when I saw it through that like I thought
because
about it before, like to know is to love, and also I think I can go a bit further to say to love is to be, like for us to know God, right, is to
yeah.
love Him, because when you know Him, you see how perfect and beautiful He is, eternally perfect, and you have no choice but to fall in love. And when you fall in love, you are participating in that eternal divine act of knowledge and love. You are now becoming more like Him. Like you are becoming divine because you are participating in that eternal act of knowledge and love. So to know is to love, and then to love is to be.
That is that is that's like perfect. That
Okay.
that is honestly one of the best ways to describe the Trinity and
Yeah.
the incarnation itself. And what's one of the most beautiful parts about the book is that he divides the subtitle of the book, being consciousness bliss, is like it. He basically structured the book in a Trinitarian fashion,
Mm.
explaining each and every concept. And in explaining it, he showed how this Trinitarian understanding of God is not simply unique to Christianity, but in fact found in many other traditions. And to me, that shows one of the beautiful truths of Christianity, that when we say Trinity, we are not
Yeah.
speaking foreign things, but people have been talking about it for a very, very long.
Yeah.
That understanding of being as love, of being as bliss.
Mm.
There's also another side of it. I don't think David Bentley Hart mentions this in the book. He calls it um, God is the ultimately necessary being.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the
I think
argument from contingency.
yes, the argument for contingency. The issue is that people do not understand what they mean by contingent being. They think God. I think when we think about God, we still there's still it's very stubborn. This very stubborn thought as God as something, an object somewhere.
Yeah,
So we can't
within
imagine.
a discrete being in the
Yes,
universe.
we can't imagine God as necessary because we can't imagine Him as not an object. So
Mm.
this the best way I think for me to figure recently. One of the best ways for me to conceptualize this is simple. What we think about the infinite, one of the best definitions of the infinite is that which has no limits, right?
Yeah.
Now, it has no limit in existence, in knowledge, in whatever is real. It has no limits. Now, if this is a true definition, then the infinite exists.
Mm.
And there is only one infinite, because to say two infinite means the infinite is not infinite. It has a limit. It means it is this, not something else. There has to be
Yeah.
only one infinite.
Talking about infinities, like I'll come back. I'll come back to the. You are writing an article right now, the infinity of infinities. I kind of found it. I tried to read it, but it was a bit complex, too complex for me. So I think I'm going to ask you to like try to break it down for all of us, so that we can go when we read the article, we can like understand. But anyways, I found an idea in this book also. Jordan Peterson talks a lot about the logos. A lot of people talk about the logos.
Yeah,
John in John chapter 1 talked about the logos,
yeah,
and I find it's kind of hard to like really understand exactly what the logos is, what it does, exactly what it means for something to be for something to be logos, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's a quote in the book: the universe is an unfolding of an omnipresent divine wisdom of the logos. So I have two questions for you before I enter the
Mhm.
infinity of infinities, right? First and foremost, what is the logos? One, because from this sentence, the universe is an unfolding of an omnipresent divine wisdom of the Logos. So this quote was emanating from, like, Bentley Hart was trying to explain that the act of creation is not a temporal event. It did not happen. I think
Yes.
we had an argument or a discussion on this on Twitter sometimes
Yeah,
back.
we did.
That what does it mean that God created? Like you said, God created heaven and earth. You say that creation is not temporal. It's a continuous act of is a continuous act of creation. So what do you mean? Like, it's hard to really grasp the idea, and like not seeing creation in a sense as a temporal event. So what do you mean by God created heaven and earth?
Okay. For the first question, what is
Yeah,
logo?
yeah.
The best the best three words I can find now are logos is meaning, logos is rationality, and logos is being.
Mm,
Uh oh, okay, I can add one more. I can add the fourth definition. Logos is knowledge.
okay.
All these definitions have a lot to do with the mind and consciousness.
Okay.
Logos is that which organizes.
Okay.
A very good definition of logos is the ability of your mind to organize things around you into categories. There is a fan, there is a table, there is a chair. Those
Okay.
that is a very, very real description of what logos does. Logos is the ability of uh, consciousness to organize things. When applied to God, it takes on a very, very literal sense. God is the one who organizes. Without
Mm.
organization, there is chaos, and chaos is nothingness. There is no such thing as chaos. Chaos is
So
nothing.
God uses the logos to organize.
To organize. So when he says the creation is an unfolding of an omnipresent divine wisdom, that's
Mm.
what it means is that God has a logos, a wisdom that he uses to create from all time. Now, for the second question, it connects to the first. I want you to imagine a simple image, actually, very, very, it was quite recently. I was happy because it helped better
Is it from
understand
Matthieu
something.
Pageau?
No, no, no. It was from,
Because he was one that does all these symbols and images.
that guy is crazy. Freedom Sean, a circle. It has a
Okay.
center, a radius, and the circumference, right?
Yeah.
Imagine God as the center.
Okay.
From the center in an ideal circle, you cannot see the center, but you know it, you know where it is, at least in a sense, but you cannot really see a center because a
Yeah.
point is not visible. It has no spatial dimensions. From such a point can, in quote, see the whole circle at once.
Yes. Yes.
From that center, all the radii, imagine the
Mm.
radii as logos, touches the circle. The radii is what defines the circle. That is
Mm.
logos. And the circle itself, imagine the circle itself as creation. And on the circle, you cannot see all the circle, but you can see the center or the direction of the center.
Mm.
For you, you know where, in a sense, you know where God is. At least it's conceptualizing with it got physical place, but you understand what I mean when you say you know where God is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we can't see creation. To us, creation is unfolding. You are moving around the circle. We are seeing different parts of it. That is time. The circle is rotating.
Yeah.
The circle itself is space, but the circle is time. We cannot see all of it. But to God, everything
Is at the center.
is at the center. To Him,
So
everything is
what links the center to all of creation, to all of the circle, is the logos.
yes.
Mm. But some people liken the logos to Jesus.
How do you explain it? Uh, a very important dogma in Christianity is the hypostatic union of Christ. They call it the hypostatic union. It it says Christ is one person, but two natures, human and divine. Not
Mm.
that there are two persons. Not like there's a
Yeah.
Jesus, the human being, and Jesus, the Logos. No, there's one
Yeah.
Jesus. He has a human nature and he has a divine nature. In
Yeah.
his human nature, he was in Palestine 2,000 years ago.
Hmm.
In his divine nature, because God cannot change, or else he wouldn't be God. He was still omnipresent, omnipotent, and so on. So while
Yeah.
he was on earth, he was still in heaven. Like he said, no man, he said it to Nicodemus too. He said something like, come to earth who has not come from heaven. But the Son of Man is on earth and is also in heaven at the same
Mm.
time. Uh, for when you say Jesus Christ is the Logos, it does not mean that when Jesus Christ was on earth, only the Logos was on earth only. It means that
Mm.
Jesus took on human nature and manifested it to a particular people, but he did not cease to be the Logos who manifests everywhere in
And will always be the logos for all
yeah
of eternity.
for all of
Uh,
eternity.
so I think this is a way we can link to the next book, The Language of Creation. We
Yes,
talked about this, the unification of Jesus in heaven and on earth, like the unification of heaven and
and
earth
earth.
together to
Yes,
give space, as John and Matthieu Pageau conceptualized it, like
yes,
that heaven is light; it has to illuminate on something. Earth and matter is, what's it called? No, like matter and everything we have is earth, right?
yes,
It needs light to illuminate on it, and Jesus Christ coming downward, the reincarnation of Jesus Christ, like coming, having human form, taking form of human, is light coming down, illuminating, so that we can be risen up together with Him to go back in heaven, right? So like this
yes.
perfect union between heaven and earth. So that's like the book. I think the other title of the book is the symbology of the book of
The
Genesis
symbology of creation, or the symbol of
of
creation.
creation. Okay. So I want to ask a question based on this book, because this book deals a lot with symbols. A lot of people make this mistake, right? I think you should talk a bit about this. Okay, first and foremost, let me ask this question. Are you a young young earth creationist, or an old earth creationist?
I, yeah, oldest creationist. I do not believe
Uh,
very
Okay.
young.
Okay, so the for people that are listening and don't know what this means, a young earth creationist is someone that believes in the literal creation of the
Yeah,
universe, as the way it
six
was said in Genesis. Like the earth is about 6,000 years.
years old.
Everybody came from Adam, but the what's it called? The old earth creationists are the ones that see Genesis in the light of like an allegory, like it's just something, a story that tries to conceptualize in a very simple form the way creation happened, not that it's literal. Like the earth is as old as 4.5 billion years. That's old. And me myself, I'm an old creationist. So that being said, a lot of Christians, especially in the Pentecostal churches, believe that it is literal. Like God came and He created the entire. It's not that He cannot do it. He's all knowing. I mean, He's all powerful, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they believe that He created heaven and earth in 6 days. The first day, the second day, blah 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 blah. So, like the book of Genesis to me is one of the most complex, if not the most complex text in the entire Bible. So like, and it's filled with lots of symbols. And I would love you, in your way, like how would you break down the book of Genesis, seeing it from the perspective of symbols, as a text with lots of symbols and allegories? So explain to us what you think happened from creation till now in terms of Genesis chapter 1 and 2.
Okay. First, it's important to note the context it was written. Ancient people did not think in scientific terms. I think that mistake we make today. We think the scientific is the most real, when in fact it is the least real. sector of our
Mm.
understanding. Um, it's because of this mindset that people think symbols are, in quotes, I used to hear this a lot, just symbols, when
Yeah.
symbols are actually far more real than we suppose that they are. That context is important. So what symbols are intended to, if one of the best ways to view symbols in is for a Christian, like is in terms of incarnation. Symbols are
Yeah.
incarnations of eternal truths.
Mm.
They repeat themselves. They don't they don't appear once and disappear. So Genesis itself, in fact, many stories in the Bible, you repeat the pattern of Genesis. You see when people study they call it typology of scripture. It repeats itself in Noah, in David, in from like when the prophets talk about heaven and earth passing away, they are using Genesis language.
Mm.
The importance of symbols there. It's very, very important. We have to note that symbols like that don't just it's not about something that happened in the past, it's something eternal. What it's describing is happening now as much as it's happening then.
Yeah.
Genesis itself like starts with a statement. Beginning God created the heaven and the earth. That statement is happening now.
Mm.
In the beginning, like I told you, God does not mean God created the world in time past and stopped. Eternal. God does not exist in time. He does not do stuff now and wait for it to occur later. In the beginning, if you use the book of Revelation as reference, Jesus Christ said, I am the beginning and the end. In the beginning means in Jesus Christ, God created the heaven and the earth. That is a Christian understanding of in the beginning.
Yeah.
He himself is the God created heaven, the world of ideas, like you said, light,
The abstraction of idea. Yeah.
exactly, and earth, matter, pure matter, which is technically nothingness. Because the next verse says the earth was formless and void, meaningless. There's anything that is meaningless does not exist. It is actually formless and void. In between heaven and earth, the spirit is supposed to hover, and
Mm. The
God,
spirit was moving
yes, in
around the earth.
between.
Yeah. Mm.
Imagine this. Spirit is the middle, right?
Yeah.
Mm. Man is also a middle.
Mm.
Man is both breath of life
Yeah.
and clay from the ground. Jesus
Mm.
Christ
Man is
has
the
been called,
concept that mediates between heaven and earth.
yes, and Paul called Jesus Christ the life-giving spirit.
Mm.
So you can imagine he's hovering in, and he's the one from whom it says, "Let light." What the spirit is doing is heaven bringing
Mm.
basically incarnating. I think Matthew quotes this. He says, "The people in darkness have seen a great light." What he's
Mm.
doing is taking Genesis language and showing you its relevance in his day. How God is that creation story is
Is
happening
creating at that moment. Mm.
exactly. Creation is very well seen in Jesus Christ, who is the light that Matthew is talking about.
Mm.
That's that statement. Uh, Let there be light means God Himself looks at nothingness and sends His light towards it to call forth creation. It's the same
Mm.
way the center of the circle looks upon nothing and sends out its radius to create
To
a
create a
circle.
circle.
And it is not that it happened once in the past. The radii create the whole
Is
circle.
always moving.
It is always moving. Right now, you are in the midst of creation as it's happening. That's
Okay, I think
exactly
I
what.
understand. I understand that symbol now. I think I kind of understand. I can grasp what you mean now. Yeah.
Yeah. Then what happens next is the rest of Genesis 1 story. That story they just said before
Yeah.
in different sections of creation. It first talks about the waters divided, then land coming out, then plants. All these means something. For example, the fact that there are 7 days, the number 7 is very important.
Mm.
Think about 3D space. Six directions, 6 main directions in 3D space: up, down, front, back, left, right.
Okay.
And then there is a seventh direction in a sense. Seventh direction is the center.
Mm.
Remember when I said the center is God?
Yeah.
And God did what?
You rested.
God rested. God became the center. He rested creation. That's one of the important symbols of seven. 7 directions, up, down. The waters are divided into heaven and sea, uh, east and west. East is the beginning of day, west is the beginning of night. Uh, North and south. What happened next? Land, land, high ground is usually described as north in the Bible. North,
Mm.
ground, and south, the sea. You get.
Mm. Yeah.
And the rest of creation, that's 3 days. The rest of creation is now to be those how do you put it, moving view of a space. You are the one moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
exactly
my
the
guess
meaning.
is my
Yeah.
guess is you believe in evolution, right? I
Yes.
think, and this is the thing. This is the thing. A lot of people, a lot of Christians, like, this is one of the reasons why I, I, I was, I was not satisfied with the answers I was getting in churches, like through Bible studies and whatnot, because I know that and I think I've discussed this with you before. Like, God is truth. His
Yes.
word is truth. For it to be truth, capital letter T, it has to be true in every ramification of life. It has to be true through our consciousness, psychologically. It has to be true philosophically. It has to be true scientifically, right? And
Heaven, earth.
just within that, yeah.
Yes, they will now fill it with things, animals, plants, man. The symbol itself is not chronological in a sense. It is
Is a known fact that the earth is 4.5 billion years. And if we are
yes,
taking the Bible literally, and we extrapolate time backwards to Adam's time, we see that the earth is merely just 6,000 years. And we are our parents send us to school to learn all of these things, to accept science as it were, to make great things with that knowledge of science, but to discard the knowledge of evolution itself, right? Like, literally, like, just picking and choosing the things we want to believe just to accommodate what we know in Christianity, right? So, like, when I now saw that evolution and creation can be compatible, right? Like,
yeah,
even if we want to take those days, like, chronologically, maybe not like one day per se, you can see that kind of they follow the evolutionary pattern, right? Like
yeah.
the heavens, and then the earth, and then the seas, and then the fishes, and then the the birds. I mean, I think the land animals or the birds first, and then, like, if you look at the evolutionarily, they make sense.
The thing
And
is,
man
there is
being the last creation, because I think men are like one of the last beings
yeah,
to
well,
emerge in the evolutionary, yes, at about 150,000 years or 200,000 years ago, from 4.5 billion years. So we are literally newcomers here. And in the Bible, we're the last creation also, right? So,
yeah,
like, I now saw that, yes, maybe, just maybe, that was at that moment, that it was that at that moment I found out that maybe just the book of Genesis isn't like the way we see it as, like, do you understand? Because I could not reconcile evolution with creationism, right?
yes. The common understanding is that somehow Genesis talks about God speaking to an already established creation and calling animals out of thin air. Uh,
Yeah.
Creation, if you read Genesis 2, you see man is made out of, they said man formed man out of the ground and breathed life into him. right?
Yeah.
Now, that is presumably the same way God created all the animals. It's
Yeah.
it's not like the ancient people did not know that creatures change or they ultimately are made from earth and they die, because they understood that. They did
Yeah.
not know creation. They did not know evolution, right?
Yeah.
But they did know that they did understand the concept of change over time. They know that man technically came last. There's not like they
Mm.
did not know. Now, where this bridges with evolution is that how do I explain it better? There is a there are different kinds of evolutionism.
Okay.
The pure Darwinian view, which is,
Yeah.
in my opinion, untenable. With like
Yeah. Because of
other
molecular
people,
biology.
yes, other from chaos that can thing
Yeah.
without any guiding logos. I think that is untenable. But
Yeah.
if you understand the way David Bentley Hart puts it, that creation is the unfolding of wisdom,
Mm.
evolution begins to make sense. That means when the
Unfolding of
scripture
divine wisdom.
yes, when the scripture says God called forth the animals, you cannot see evolution as the way they were called forth. There are two ways to see the calling forth. First of all, there's the calling forth of what the Platonists call the idea of the animal. That one is eternal, it's in heaven. The idea of
Mm.
creation. There is always the idea. But then there is also the calling forth of it on earth, where whatever natural processes or supernatural doesn't matter, the animal itself will how. The issue with evolution most people have, I think the way you pointed it out that many people do not see the compatibility. I think the main issue is simple.
Yeah.
Uh it's pretty in which they do, because evolution presupposes a lot of death. That is a very big issue with people's understanding of evolution. They think it negates the idea of the fall, that
Yeah.
death came after the fall. The way I would address it is that the same way you do not see Genesis, I do not see Genesis, or we should not see Genesis as something happening literally in time, happening like 6,000. The same way we should not see the fall as happening with an original human couple 6,000 years ago.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Like a literal Adam.
Yes.
But I think, but don't you think that there was an Adam, but not necessarily being the first
It,
human being?
it's
Maybe he's probably the first
it's
recorded
possible.
Jewish person, right?
No,
The first person we know
it's
as a Jew.
possible. It's not like it's not possible. It's possible. But I
Yeah.
think the evolution, they don't just see the way animals come out. They also see of this kind of things lies in the eternal idea it's supposed to react.
Okay.
Uh there's 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 something important in that story that goes beyond simple biology. When you read ancient literature, I think David Bentley has several articles on, and he has pointed out several times that many people there are many ways to understand that fall. And I think the way he subscribes to, and the same way I subscribe to it, is the fall is not the fall is the how do I explain it now? It is the creation of the material world itself as it is.
Mm.
There is what they call a supratemporal fall, a fall that did not happen in time.
Okay.
Imagine Adam as uh, archetypal humanity in God's mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
serpent as the tendency of creation to go awry.
Yeah.
Imagine,
Unbridled rationality.
yes. Now imagine Eve as the how do you put it? The tendency of man to externalize himself.
Okay. Okay. So
Imagine,
now we are venturing. Sorry to cut you short. And um um we are venturing into the fall. I wanted to
yeah,
like I wanted us to start that one too. So there is the fall. I think we've talked about the creation
Yeah.
process,
Yeah.
kind of. So now the fall is another, like starting from Genesis chapter 2 to chapter 3, is
Yes.
another story on its own. And there are lots of symbols in that story. The first is the tree. What does the tree represent itself? Like, is it, or like the Garden of Eden? We know it's not a literal garden. It wasn't a literal garden. We know it wasn't a literal tree of knowledge of good and evil, or a tree of eternal life. So what does it mean that there's a tree in the middle of the garden, and there were trees around the garden, that some were to be eaten and one not to be eaten? What does it mean?
A tree represents space.
Okay.
Space. Space is supposed to be straight. Space is represented by straight lines. Yet,
Okay.
so a tree represents space, and also represents creation, in the sense that creation is, in a way, space apart from God,
Okay.
because creation is not God, and even though they are connected.
Mm. Pantheism.
Yeah, yeah. That is a more technical way. We will not live here. But just imagine God and creation as separate in quote regions. Now,
Yeah.
the fact that creation itself is separate from God means that there is a sense in which creation is not good, because God is the fullness of goodness. You get?
Yeah.
So there is a sense in which creation is not good, and anything that is not good does not last. They all
It
fade away.
decays. Yeah.
Yes, and that decay is the serpent. S- where I put it, where tree is space, the serpent is time.
Mm.
Things have a duration, whatever the form the duration takes. And that serpent
Yeah.
itself represents the duration. You have heard of mythology of the serpent around the tree of the
Yeah.
cosmic.
The Yggdrasil.
Yes.
The
The
serpent. I forgot the name of the serpent. The word
the
serpent. It's called the
world
word
serpent.
serpent. There's a
Yes.
Norse word for it. I've forgotten. But the tree is Yggdrasil. The
Yes.
word tree.
And there is also, in fact, that serpent, by the way, symbolizes the tendency to the chaos you see in Genesis 1.
Mm.
Because in ancient Sumerian or ancient Near Eastern mythology, where Israel was situated, chaos is represented by a dragon or a water serpent.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Yes. Yes.
Call her, how do you put it? Tiamat, or
Tiamat. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
That's
female.
the Sumerian mythology.
Yes,
The Epic of Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh.
Yeah.
The biblical name is Leviathan. If you have read
Leviathan. Yes. Yes. And yeah. Talk
yes,
about in Job.
the symbol of that snake is that creation always, because it is not God, it always tends, there's always a tendency to evil, even if it may not be manifest. What the four symbolizes is that this tendency is manifest itself. You
Mm.
always see the way it is always shown is a division. First of all, there is a tree and the serpent, they are divided. Next, Adam is
Yeah.
divided into two. Next thing, next thing that happens, instead of Adam, what happens after two of them disobey? They are sent out to till the soil, to
Yeah.
expend themselves. Then they will die and divide again into dust. That
Yeah.
division, that is the tendency of creation to divide itself. That's why I would say it is important to understand the deeper symbolism. The physical
Mm.
world we live in is always to division.
So
That's why people
decay.
die. Yes, that
Mm.
is the function of time. And that's exactly what the form means. That is why Paul would say he wants to be delivered from this flesh and he wants a
Mm.
spiritual body. It is, he knows the deeper meaning of that symbol, that it is this physical world itself and the Lord of the physical world, who you can call
Yeah.
Satan or whoever.
Is the serpent. Yeah.
Yes, that is the cause of the fall itself, not necessarily one human being in the past,
Yeah.
because it repeats
Yeah.
itself every time we sin, every single time.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. Like I have an idea about that, but like about the symbology of Genesis chapter 2 that is not, it's not the same with yours. And I think I got it from, what was it called? From Paradise. Have you read Paradise Lost?
Mm, no,
John Milton.
no.
But basically, the way Jordan Peterson sees it, and I think it makes sense, and the way the Roman Catholic Church, I think, sees it. So the tree, the garden, is the earth, right?
Yeah,
The earth in all its fullness.
yeah,
Eat of all the trees, but one, right? Eat
yes,
of everything. In terms, use your knowledge to make art, to make science, to create stuff, to build stuff,
yes,
to make music, right?
yes,
Ex- Dominates the world, right?
yeah,
But except one. And what is that tree? The tree of good and evil. So, like, God has created this world, right? And
mhm,
set some rules for us to navigate through in order to be successful in this world,
mm,
right? And those rules, if you deviate from those rules, deviation from those rules is damnation, right? So,
yes,
and deviation from that rule is not necessarily disobeying God, but doing things by yourself using your own knowledge, right? We are
yeah,
not to navigate the world with our knowledge. We have to, just like zombies, navigate the world through God's set rules, right? So there is this snake. All right. That's the snake. I think they call the snake the spirit of unbridled rationality, right? Uncontrolled rationality.
yeah,
Human beings, like in all our fullness, we've been able to dominate the world. We've been able to do spectacular things, right? But there's a tendency of the human rationality to think it is bigger than what it is,
yes,
right? The devil is a spirit that eternally does that. The devil eternally thinks he is more than what he is not, more than what he is. That is why he rebelled against God in spiritual sense, right? So
yeah,
um there's a tendency for human beings to think, because you are using rationality, you are okay. So human beings, right, have the proclivity to erect their own dogmatic ethical systems, right?
mm-hmm,
And now expand it into a grandiosity that challenges the transcendent, and it always becomes catastrophic all the time, right? So,
yes,
because we've been using our rationality, we create our own dogmatic systems, and we now expand it and feel like we have arrived. We can challenge God. We don't need Him anymore, right? So that represents the snake, the serpent, talking, whispering. Like if you read John Milton's that spirit of unbridled rationality, it was a poem. He talked a lot about the serpent talking to, trying to whisper to Eve, trying to convince her that go and take that fruit, right? And is our unbridled rationality telling us that we can be gods ourselves, since we've done all these great feats and we ate from the good, from the tree of good and evil, right? So at that time we gave ourselves the right, the authority to choose what is good and from what is bad. We've left God's rule for us to create our own ethical systems, right?
yeah,
And that was the fall. Do you understand? And when that happened, something profound happened. When they ate it, they found that they were naked,
mm-hmm,
right? The nakedness of both of them is self-consciousness. They became conscious that you are naked, I am naked, right? And you find out that they were shy, they were too shy to meet God. When God came, they ran away, right? Because God is eternally perfect, right?
yes,
And now being conscious of the fact that you are imperfect, conscious of our imperfections. And it's just like you are looking at yourself, looking at the mirror, you're comparing yourself with perfection, right? You feel miserable because God is the ultimate perfection. You feel miserable beside Him. So that was why we ran away. So it was, I think, the tree, eating from the fruit is we now getting to the point where we think that we are gods ourselves, and we think our rationality supplants God's rule and God's purpose, the teleology, like the God's purpose on earth, why He created us. Do you understand? That is my own sense of the four.
I don't think yours is different from mine. I
Oh,
think
okay.
yours is actually one of the best applications of that.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, like I said, the fall happens all the time.
Okay.
It happens every day. In fact, it's one of the basic best, one of the most important features of our modern civilization is that it is actually
Yes, it's
a
continuous.
fall.
It's continuous. It's not like it just happened once.
Yes, it happened. Um, when like I said, yours is an application. Now, imagine that unbridled rationality is a manifestation of that tendency. Imagine logos
Decay. Okay. Okay.
imagine logos as one of the important distinctions between logos and mere rational thought. When I
Yeah.
say logos rationality, I don't mean it's rational thought. One of the difference
Yeah.
between logos and mere rational thought is that the fact that logos is eternal means that when you perceive logos, you are not quote thinking.
Mm.
When you see a table, you are not having an argument in your mind using presuppositions and syllogisms to tell you the table. You just see a table,
Yeah. It's just a table.
and that is logical. That is logos. However, rationality itself is when you now argue for that table. Now that
Mm.
the problem that separate, like you said, is unbridled rationality. Rationality disjointed from logos.
Mm. 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 Mm.
When that happens, the snake, you know of the Ouroboros, right?
Yeah, the Ouroboros. Yeah.
The snake that devours his own tail. That's
Yeah.
exactly unbridled
Exactly
rationality
that.
there.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Destroys itself.
There is a book called The Origin and History of Consciousness by Eric Neumann. I think you should check out. You should check it out. It's a complex read, but it's very wonderful.
No, no problem. I'll check it.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. So let's move to the last book. Let's quickly brush through it. What's the name of the last book again? Modern Physics.
Yeah.
Was it necessarily true in terms of scientific fact? Right, that wasn't necessarily
Yeah,
true, but it was true in the sense that
in
it was
terms
working for
of
them. Because if you find out that most of the plagues and most of the diseases, the life expectancy in Europe then was very low, and most of them were dying for very stupid diseases from dirtiness. Do you know, like until like 200 to 300 years ago, they never knew that death germs could come from defecation, from shit, and from touching blood and all this stuff. They used to believe that germs used to come from the modern physics and ancient faith. So, out of all these arguments, out of the arguments for God, the one thing unique and I love about this book is he tried to give he tried to steal man the atheist perspective and then tackle them one by one.
yes,
And that is something unique. Like most times, a lot of these apologetics sometimes they kind of strawman these atheist ideas, but this one did a good job in trying going in depth to really explain their perspective first, then breaking it down and countering them one by one. So of all the arguments for the existence of God, right,
yeah.
which appeals to you? What argument do you think is the best,
Oh, okay. Let's see.
and
The
why?
I think the way I see it, that I think is the contingency argument.
Hmm.
I
So it's not the scientific,
David
it's not the
Bentley Hart
intelligent
actually
design argument.
no. In fact, there are many strains of intelligent design, and most of them I do not like
Yeah.
them. There's always there are intelligent design theories that do not believe in evolution.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
That the best intelligent design ideas use logos. I don't know if that is the best.
Okay. So his own is the argument from the necessary and contingent argument.
Yes, in reality, most of these arguments are just different perspectives on the same thing,
Yeah.
right? But the way I see it, in terms of what goes the straightest line to
Yeah.
that contingency argument,
Yeah.
the argument for necessary being.
Yes.
That necessary being is very, very, I think, very, very important because It helps us. Um, if it can click in your mind,
Yeah.
then I don't think there's any experience,
Experience. Yeah.
nothing that can kick you out of it.
And anything aside the contingent being like falls into the Aristotelian infinite regression.
Yes,
Hmm.
and which is impossible.
Yeah.
It's not possible to have infinite causes. Not. of- I think people have to read David Bentley Hart
Yeah.
to get that standing better. I
And
think that go on,
yeah,
continue.
and there's an idea I kind of came to my head. There are two kinds of truths, because this was something the guy was trying to explain, that there is scientific truth, like science and religion are not separate. They are meant to complement each other, right? Um, and this thing came to my head. There are metaphorical truths, and then there are factual truths. Okay.
No, I don't think
Okay.
that distinction works. Uh, I think it's better to say there. What's the word? I think, like I said, that's distinction between correct opinion
Yeah.
and knowledge
Yeah.
is like the closest to the best distinction you can find. You can say there are contingent truths,
Yeah.
which you can call contingent facts,
Yeah.
or and there are eternal truths, truths
Right.
are that they don't change respective time, place,
Okay.
the earth
Okay.
exists or not.
But I'm not
I think that is
I'm
a
not
better.
seeing it. I'm not what I mean is what I mean by metaphorical truths and factual truths. For example, let's say a society tells you that a culture tells you that don't touch a porcupine, because if you touch a porcupine, you die. Right? That's a metaphorical
Mm-hmm,
truth. It has no scientific backing, right? But it's just like
mm-hmm.
using stories or using myths, using legends to try to convey an information to you. You get what I mean?
Yes.
And then scientifically we find out that if you touch a porcupine, you don't die, but it gets hot because or a skunk, sorry, a skunk. It releases a particular kind of toxins, and when you inhale it, it's very dangerous. You might not die. You most likely will not die, but it's injurious to you,
Yeah.
right? But they have done the same thing. They have the same function in warning the people of that culture not to go near a skunk. Do you understand what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
So the metaphorical truth might not be factually correct, but it has done the same thing. So, like a perfect example is in Deuteronomy or so, when God was laying out those rules. One of the rules was that the Hebrew people should not defecate within the camp. They should defecate outside, and when they do, they should wash their hands after they kill animals or wash animals. I mean, do anything with dead animals, they should wash their hands, right?
Yeah.
He did not explain to them why. The reason was because God loves cleanliness. God is holy.
More or less.
He loves,
That
like, God is holy.
uh, that book explains it better though. The
Okay.
Pageau book. Yes, you're right. God loves cleanliness,
Yeah.
but one remember I said there are levels of truth.
Yeah.
Apart from that cleanliness, if you go to Jonathan Pageau's page when he talks about purity,
Yeah.
there is also a symbolic meaning behind purity.
Yeah.
The how do I explain it? Whatever is of the earth is not supposed to enter heaven.
Mm.
Whatever it happens, it's at all levels. Uh, there's a reason they to call criminals scum of the earth.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Example. Criminals, dangerous criminals, are not supposed to enter the society.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be locked up,
Yeah.
or should I say killed. Dangerous criminals meaning murderers, not
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
shoplifters, something like that. The same way, when you defecate, it's you are expelling something of in quote of the earth, because that is where it is supposed to end up.
Yeah.
And in the camp, the closer you are to God, the
Yeah.
closer you are to
No,
where.
you're explaining the same thing I'm saying. That
Yeah,
is true. That kind of truth, because God is holy, right? And he's in
yeah,
the camp. The Ark of the Covenant is around his camp, right? So you shouldn't do any of that
yes,
there. It should be outside, right? But factually, foul air. Do you understand? When you breathe
Yeah.
foul air, that was what caused the plague. It was not until when germ theory now came out, because they found out that that was one of the reasons that most of them used to be skeptical about Hebrew people. They used to try to be jealous of the Jewish people because most of the
They were
diseases
very
that they used to have, they don't used to have it at that time. Do you understand? So
yeah.
they never knew, even the Jewish people never knew the science behind what they were doing. All right. It was not until germ theory came out and said that, oh, all of these things, actually, the Hebrew people all through the years are correct. All right. They don't even know why they were doing what they were doing, but they were doing it because God asked them to do it. So I think that was like metaphor. And I think that union, like science proving
And
metaphorical truth right correctly, is that union. There's a beautiful union between metaphorical truth and scientific
scientific.
fact. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
That's what I mean. Or like God created in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. All right.
Yeah.
It wasn't proven then. It was metaphorical truth, right? Until it
Yeah.
got proven that yes, actually there's a beginning, that Big Bang happened and whatnot. So there is this beautiful union between metaphorical truth and scientific truth. And I still think that there are so many metaphorical truths or so many truths that have not been scientifically proven in the Bible, and not just Bible, in myths, in legends and whatnot, that eventually science might be able to prove. And even if science might not be able to prove them, you can't say because they cannot be scientifically proven, they are not useful.
Yes.
They are
I think
still
that is
useful
very important to
they are
stress.
still useful regardless.
I think yeah, correct. You're correct. The how do you put it? The impulse. One of the most beautiful things about religion in general
Yeah.
is that uh even without the scientific method, there are truths that do not, how do you put it, require us to be ridiculously skeptical for you to
Mm.
accept them.
Yes, yes, yes.
The the ancients had far more faith than we do.
Yeah.
They had far more faith. Some people see it as a vice, but I see it as a very very good,
Mm.
very faith is a virtue.
Yeah.
It's important to note that rationality has a source, and it
Yeah.
is when you see the source, like I said, when you see logos,
Yeah.
you do not need, you may want to, but you do not need it explained to you. There is when David Bentley Hart said truth, should be, being is knowledge, to be is to know,
Yeah.
to know is to love what you know.
Yeah.
There is an implicit, there's another implication there that he did not put there, but I think it's important.
Yeah.
Real knowledge is self-evident, it does not need proof.
Mm.
Correct opinion needs proof. You need proof that the earth revolves around the sun,
Yeah.
at least for a scientist.
Yeah.
But things like things like the mystery of God,
Yeah.
when people see it, when people know it. In fact, one of the best arguments is that so many people know God. One of the best arguments for God is that so many people know Him. To say that they are the ones delusional is to be very proud and not like
Yes,
rethink your
exactly.
position.
Exactly.
Like so many
Because
people
that's
know this
actually a
thing.
fantastic argument for existence of God, like personal
Yes,
experience. And it's the most discarded. But really I think it's the most potent,
mm,
one of the
important.
most, yeah, from personal
Think
experience. Um
someone else called it intellection, to just see, like the
mm,
way you have intuition or something is real and nobody
yeah,
can dissuade you from it.
yeah. Mm. So like we've used over an hour. So
Yeah.
and I think this discussion, like if we are not careful, we can stay here to like 6 or 7. But it has been a fantastic conversation all in all. I've learned a lot. I'm not even going to lie. I've learned a lot today. So yeah, thank you very much for taking out your time to discuss these things with me. And
You're welcome.
and most
It's an
likely
honor
most
to be here.
thank you very much. And most likely I would maybe call you back here, because I don't think we are done. We are nowhere done in this
Why not
conversation
done?
at all. At all. It's just at the tip of the iceberg. But thank you once again. And for everyone that listened to this, thank you and goodbye.